Disloyalty, death, a climate crisis, the entire plot of The Notebook, nudity, child abandonment, endangerment. All of these attributes describe just one of these games, but actually it describes this one. Firewatch gets close enough to that description too though. In it, you play as a man named Henry who has recently gone through the traumatic event of losing his wife to Alzheimer's. You had an entire life with her before her diagnosis, a dog, a house, but one night in the past, she came home later than expected and was tipsy. You assume the worst has happened, she cheated, even though you don't actually know what happened and she could be completely innocent. Just to be safe, once she mentally deteriorates enough and tragically can't recognize you, you kick her to the curb and run away to chat up some other broad in the forest at your new summer job.
What's wrong with you?
The first day you arrive, you meet another woman through the sounds of your walkie-talkie named
Delilah.
She's your co-worker and she's sanctioned inside of another nearby tower. Fireworks are seen going off in the distance, and your first task is to go investigate, as fireworks could possibly start a forest fire, and your job is to not let that happen, because if it does, you're out of a job and have to go home to that sick old bat. Allegedly.
Who the hell are you, creep?
Turns out the fireworks were being shot up into the air by two teenage girls that are skinny dipping, and now you are a Mr. Beast employee. Along the way back to your tower, you stumble across a cave entrance with a locked gate. Down the path a bit more, you see the figure of a person above you as they shine a flashlight in your face. You look at them and they scurry away. Must have been another child. You then discover your tower has been robbed, but you have no idea who exactly did it, yet.
Someone broke in. They wrecked the place, threw my typewriter out the window.
This all happened on your first day, by the way. At this point in the game, things start feeling a little more serious, eerie. There's a certain sense of mystery that appears that cripples you with paranoia. You don't know what's coming next anymore, and this is no longer just a normal job. But you can't quit and go home to that mental patient cheating wench of a wife you've got, no way. This game shines most when it feels this type of way though. It's like you're playing a horror game, but not. The next morning light peeks over the horizon, and you are met with another task, to go check out a nearby phone line that has gone down to see what happened to it. While walking, Delilah starts to talk to someone else, accidentally leaving her walkie-talkie on, and this is odd because the phone lines are out, and she's not using her walkie-talkie, so that would mean the person is there with her physically. Even though, to get in and out of where she is, you'd have to hike 2 whole days. And she was talking about you.
Heyo. I don't think so. Why, have you? No, I don't think he has any idea. I'm absolutely sure. Would you? All right, I'll let you know if anything changes in that regard.
The girls cut the wire to get back at you, and you assume they also committed the robbery last night. You take it upon yourself and by the demand of Delilah to go find the girls and confront them. At the bottom of the hill you just climbed, you find a hanging backpack that has been abandoned. You take what's inside and learn it belonged to someone by the name of
Brian Goodwin.
He was stationed in Two Forks, your lookout, with his dad Ned 3 summers ago. Great kid. They took off halfway through the summer. I never really hit it off with old Ned, and one day they were just gone.
You find the girls' camp they had set up, and for some reason, it is torn to shreds. The girls also are nowhere to be found. Turns out they are reported missing, and you're the lead suspect, Henry Chris Tyson. You try to go fishing to pass some time, and find a clipboard laying next to the pond the girls were at previously. Written on it is dialogue between you and Delilah that only you and her should know about. To your right, there's another walkie-talkie laying on the ground as well. You pick it up, then get knocked out by someone behind you. You come to and remember that the name Wapiti Station was written on the walkie-talkie. There's then an interference of frequencies coming through on your walkie-talkies. A cough from a man is heard. You're not the only two in the forest.
Get in your tower, shut the door. Don't leave and don't use your radio. I'll call you, understand? I will call you. I was wondering if your Flora of the Shoshone info poster was still up inside your tower? Do you see the tree in the top row, second from the left? It's a great tree. And there's an area called that tree's name in your sector that maybe you should take a midday hike to.
Delilah left you a new walkie-talkie. You find another gated-off area similar to the one in the cave, and you break through. What you find next is unbelievable. It's the so-called Wapiti Station. There's communication equipment, a tent full of living supplies, an entire folder packed with every bit of information about you, Delilah, your every move, your past, things you haven't even said out loud. They know who you are, where you came from, your family's names, On the pages about Delilah, it mentions that she has a boyfriend, but has had multiple other lovers on the side while still remaining with him, showing a lot about her character and her secretive nature. She even tries flirting with you from time to time.
I'm so sick of letting these people do this to us. We should just burn the place down.
You take what you can, walk away, and when you glance back, the entire station is up in flames. As it burns, the receiver you snatched from the tent starts making noises, and it points you in a certain direction. It leads you to a backpack with a key tied to the side of it, the key for the cave you found earlier on. Delilah warns you that she is seeing a man standing inside of your tower while you're gone, so you go back, quickly, and find a tape attached to your door.
Sounds like it was recorded from somewhere nearby, and it sounds like we were the ones who burned it down, and that it was your idea.
The fire is now raging. Smoke consumes the air around you. It's almost time to evacuate, but not before you check out the cave that you have the key for. You go in, and someone closes the door behind you and locks it. You have no reception. You can't reach anybody through your walkie-talkie. This may be the end. Luckily, you find another way out, a way that leads you to some sort of secret hideout, presumably owned by Brian Goodwin, when him and his dad were sanctioned in your sector. There's climbing equipment laying inside of the fort. You take it. You go back to the cave even deeper this time, with the equipment. And then, you meet Brian Goodwin. He's dead. It looks as though he has been for a while. A climbing accident maybe, but was that really what happened? It's your last day on the job. The fire is upon you, but the receiver begins to beep again, beckoning for your attention. You choose to follow it, even though that may lead to your demise as well.
Yeah, hi, Henry. Hey, you better find this before it burns up. We've been causing each other a lot of headaches. You can't blame me for keeping an eye on you. Not after bumping into you back in May, down by the cave, for croc's sake. I've been up here for 3 years. I kept it cozy. I ran out of books. But I got that antenna rigged up, and Delilah, she's a record you don't gotta flip. About a week ago, I stopped worrying about you finding anything out, and you gotta know I didn't kill him. All right, we were climbing. I was teaching him. Brian was uneducated in the way to do anything. He just didn't sink his anchor the right way. You know, I thought about going back, having to answer questions, and having to get him put in the ground, and I didn't see the point. Don't come looking for me. Sorry about your wife.
It's time to leave. The helicopter was awaiting your arrival. You get to Delilah's tower, and she's gone. You contact her one last time through her headset.
I couldn't be out there another minute.
Not another minute? Come on.
Henry, how did you feel when you left Boulder to come out here?
Like I couldn't get here fast enough.
That's how I felt for the past 24 hours.
I don't know what's next.
Tell you what, why don't you choose for me, and I'll choose for you?
Well, you'd make a great shrink.
I think you should go to Julia. Henry, look, you came out to put your memories behind you, and they're still right there in front of you.
She won't even recognize me, Delilah.
You're not just going for her.
You don't know what it's like.
Bad things happen, okay? And you have to find a way to contain the damage. A good way.
Well, hopefully I can figure out a way to do that.
Yeah, I hope so. Good luck, Henry.
Thanks, Delilah. I appreciate it.
I mean it. Okay, good luck.
Thanks.
Bye, Hank.
Pretty much everyone hated the way Firewatch ended upon their first playthrough, but I actually don't think it could have or should have ended any other way. I think it was one of the strongest points of the entire plotline. See, a lot of Firewatch takes place inside of the rising action. It builds momentum and suspense over time. This can be seen with The Lost Girls, for example, but every time it builds up to anything, it always lets you down when you figure out what is actually happening. They weren't lost at all. They went home safe and sound and were guilty of cutting the wire, nothing else. This happens a lot in the story. Even when you find out Ned Goodwin was your stalker, it just ruins a bit of the magic. As I said, the greatest parts of Firewatch were when it felt like a horror game, and it only felt this way because it displayed the fear of the unknown perfectly, with no resolutions in sight. At the end, if you met Delilah and went back to Julia, and we saw it step by step with a bow wrapped on top, what else would there be to question, ponder upon, wonder about? Nothing. I believe some stories should have an ending, but some should be left up for interpretation. This was one that wouldn't even be talked about by anyone anymore if it concluded, but yet, 8 years later, it's still in conversation. The ending was really the only time in the entire game that left me wanting to know what would happen next, whereas the rest was just unsatisfying and the gameplay couldn't make up for it. The graphics may be among some of the best art style-wise I've seen, vibrant, lush, but all you do is walk in it. Normally I don't complain about that. I'm a big fan of walking simulators like the Beginner's Guide, the Stanley Parable, but those games provide you with substance, relatability, traits that Firewatch mostly doesn't hold. I assume it could be relatable and could provide value to a few if you tried to drag any bit of meaning out of it that you could, but the game itself doesn't inherently have much meaning. The only dire aspects are the subtle amounts of alcoholism covered and the conversation about disease and death. But the game doesn't focus on those points enough to really hit you to your core, or at least it didn't hit me. Also, none of the characters are likable. You can't root for anybody. You feel bad for Henry at first, and he's not a terrible guy, but he abandons his wife, a decision most loyally wedded humans would not support. Then he tries flirting here and there with Delilah once he leaves, and in your mind you want to cheer them on, but Henry is still a married man, so you shouldn't. Or you'd be right down there with Julia. Delilah is apparently taken as well and trying to also cheat. And you figure out early on that she was somehow involved with what Ned was doing when she left her walkie-talkie on, so she's scum. You just can't like any of them, and you can try to find similarities between the characters in your own personal life as much as you want, but for me, I tried and I couldn't get any. I played through Firewatch for my first time a few weeks ago, and I have to say, it's not good. I liked it, but I wouldn't say it's the masterpiece that everyone describes it to be, or anything near that description. It's decent. And that sucks, because I wanted it to be outstanding. It just didn't meet my expectations. It's my type of game. It's a part of a genre that I love the most, but in that genre, for me, it's the weakest. And for the complete opposite reason, everyone else may have rated it lower for. I didn't have a problem with the ending. I had a problem with all of the rest of the content. I think this is a prime example of a game that is better in memory and does not hold up to this day. I mean, times have changed. There's a lot of incredible titles out there now. There were back then too, but maybe it was just a product of that time, and was so beloved because of the people we used to be, how the world itself was. Who really knows? It's all subjective anyways. I want to thank you for watching. You matter. If you choose to stick around, have a blessed rest of your day. If not, have a blessed rest of your life. I hope to see you again soon.